Hey, Vibrant Creators, Awesome Angie here, honoring the awesomeness in you. And today, if you're a female entrepreneur, listen up. We are going to be talking about how you can grow your business using speaking or your influence. You can grow your influence using your speaking. And I have a wonderful guest today. Her name is Lisa VanderKwaak. Did I get it right? VanderKwaak.
The last one was right. Yes. It's good. That's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
All right.
I know who I am, so I'm good.
What's that?
I know who I am, so that's all good.
To help us speak better. Lisa VanderKwaak. Got it? Yay. Yay. And yeah, so let me read this bio. She is a certified speaking coach and founder of Speak to Transform Academy. And so even though today she's known as a dynamic speaker, she was once afraid of speaking. Oh my goodness. Even in small groups, she said she was afraid of speaking, even in small groups. And so here she is now with us, over 25 years experience. Lisa is an executive speaking coach, 4 times best-selling author, international speaker, has gone from being terrified to speak to now training women speakers to communicate with confidence, clarity, and transformational impact. Does that, ladies, that's awesome. Who's here wanting some more of that? I think that's wonderful. So Lisa's clients not only learn how to cut off years off their learning curve, but she helps them develop the skills to leverage speaking to launch, grow, and scale their business to unlimited potential. So welcome, Lisa VanderKwaak.
Thank you, Angie. Such a joy to be here.
Yay, thanks for being here.
You know what, people, I always kind of spell it out phonetically because inevitably people leave out that first K. So I'm all good with that.
And I even practiced it and I still didn't get it.
Okay, when my husband, when I was getting married, my husband said, "Are you sure you want to take my name? Because you will be spelling it the rest of your life." I'm like, it's all good.
Oh, that's awesome. How many vowels are in there? There's a lot of, I've got a lot of vowels in my name too.
Yes, yes.
Oh, well, this is wonderful. So tell us, Lisa, what inspired you to start helping Kingdom women entrepreneurs create profitable lifestyle business through speaking?
Well, it all started, as you said, when you introduced me, was that I used to be terrified to speak. And over the course of time, as I was speaking, there was a point where I felt like I was just going to give up because it was like, okay, there's no way that I'm called to speak because I just can't do this. I keep falling flat on my face. And in the midst of that, one of the times that was really a turning point for me was when I was asked to speak and to give a 60-minute message, a keynote at a conference. And this was like one of my dream conferences. Anybody have any of those dream audiences or dream places that you would love to influence or get in front of? Yeah. That was one of my at the time, dream conferences to speak at. So here I was, I'd prepared, I'd taken months. I don't know about you, Angie, but sometimes it's like, you just want to do a perfect job. You just wanted it to be perfect. So you spend weeks and months and making sure you got all the T's crossed and the dot of the I. And that was me. And so I get to the event, and just like sometimes events happen, the event schedule was behind. So when it came time for me to speak, the event organizer leaned over to me and she said, "Lisa, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to cut your time in half." And I screamed. Well, I didn't scream on the outside, but on the inside, I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" So I don't know what you would have done in that moment, but I did probably what most women would do, especially if you're just fairly new as a speaker and not really trained. You're just kind of going with the flow. I said, "Okay." So I took my notes. I stood up, opened my notes, and I began to speak as fast as I could to get out all the information that I had prepared.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
And I went and I was so proud of myself because I did it all in 30 minutes, and I looked up and then I realized that I had completely lost my audience.
Oh.
And so that moment was a very terrifying moment for me, very embarrassing, but it became a turning point moment as well. I mean, the event organizer, she couldn't even look me in the eye afterwards. So like, I don't blame her. I completely bombed, but I felt like from that moment, I thought, okay, that's it. I'm not cut out for this. It was just one of those moments. Have you ever had one of those moments, Angie? You just feel like, okay, I'm done.
Yep. Yep.
I'm
Many
not
times.
cut out. But yet I couldn't stop because I felt like I knew that I was called in some way to impact people's lives. And I knew the using my voice was part of that. And the other thing that happened was I actually began to see a lot of other women who were struggling in the same area. So for me, that moment, I began to seek out help. I said, okay, I need help. And I was at a seminar one time and I heard this speaker, and she actually was a coach. This was before coaching was mainstream. So I'm talking like more than 15 years now. And she was also a speaker, and she began to talk about how speaking is a learnable skill. That what makes up effective communication is only 10% talent and 90% skill development. So I don't know about you, Angie, but that was good news for me to hear. I was like, okay, if I'm willing to learn, then I can actually become a half decent speaker. So
That's awesome.
If you're listening today and you think, you know what, there's no way, I'm just not cut out for this, I'm not talented enough, well, I want to tell you good news today. If you're willing to learn and embrace a growth mindset, you can become a great speaker. So that set me on a journey for me to develop the skills. And as I began to develop the skills, I realized that a lot of women were stuck where I was, feeling like there's only a certain subset of people who are good speakers. And so it set me on a journey to really help women to develop the skills to get their message out there.
That's amazing. Awesome. Awesome. So I suppose you probably have a process that you've developed that you help women.
Well, it's funny because have you ever been in a place like that where you had your time cut in half, or you
any kind of big conference, you can count on it pretty much to happen.
Yeah, if it hasn't happened yet,
right.
It will.
Yes. Yes.
There will be moments, or you're kind of put on the spot and you have to give, a speech or say something in 10 minutes.
Right.
Well, that motivated me. And so when I actually hired a coach way back then, I met a man named, well, I had two coaches, one after the other. One was Valerie Burton, and the other one was Craig Valentine, who later on became the 1999 world champion of public speaking. And through Toastmasters. I never went through Toastmasters, but he became one of my coaches, and I actually became a certified speaking coach through him, through his organization. But he actually taught me a number of things about speaking, which really helped reframe how I showed up. Because that moment when I was speaking, I was more focused on me. I was more focused on the content, the information that I was meant to, this is good stuff, people, you need to hear it. And so if I cram it all in, who cares? You got to have it. So he taught me this phrase. It's really cool. It said, if you squeeze your information in, you squeeze your audience out.
I like that. Yeah.
So that made me go on this search of thinking, okay, why am I speaking? What's my purpose? And it all came down to this transformation. It's not about information, it's about transformation. And that is where I formed my Speak to Transform method. And so the first thing is I was taught, and then I took what he taught me and I created, adapted it so that I could show up any place, anytime, and be ready and able to adapt my message on the fly without compromising the impact of it. So I was able to take my 60-minute and without, giving all the information, but in a way that was going to leave the audience in some way different than in a good way than when before they heard me. So this became my process, and it's called my Speak to Transform method. How to take people from where they're at to where they are by you communicating your message to be able to show up in a way that's clear, concise, and compelling.
Clear, concise, compelling. I like it. The alliteration. That's awesome. So what would you say holds women back from speaking in general? Like that right there. I mean, there's a lot of women that, there's so, what is it? Seinfeld says that, I love the joke that he talks, and it's so true, because there's stats that they do on these things. More people are more scared they'd rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy.
Exactly.
Yeah. People don't want to public speak in general. It's a fear. So what would you say holds women back from speaking in general?
Well, you hit it right there. It is fear, but I would take that one step further. It's actually the fear of embarrassment. It's the fear of what if I do something that's completely a mess up? What are people going to say? I find this is one of the biggest holdbacks for women, is fear of the rejection, fear of judgment. And then the other part of that is not really knowing what to say. They feel, and it kind of dovetails into each other, afraid of what people say, but at the same time, afraid of and not really knowing what to say. What do I have to say that's going to make a difference? And knowing kind of how to do that in a way that they're confident in what they say. So there's a lot of different layers to the fears that might come in, but at the core of it, one of the things that was holding me back a lot was this perfectionist attitude, that I had to get it right, that I had to have the right words, right? So that feeds into that fear of how people are going to perceive you, that fear of rejection, that fear of judgment. If you don't get it right, they're going to think you're stupid, whatever it might be. And I realized that it's not about perfection, but it's about connection.
Ooh,
and so
that rhymes. I like that.
That's one of the things that I work with women entrepreneurs, to help them to not be so focused on just giving information or educating. That has its place, but how can you turn everything that you have and make it about your audience?
That's awesome.
So
powerful. That's powerful. That's amazing. Kind of like me at the beginning, stumbling over your name. I just kept going. Did I do okay?
Oh, you got my endorsement, girl.
Yay. Yeah, we just take ourselves.
You want to be real, right? You want to be real. It's not about, absolutely.
Yes.
You want to be yourself, but at the same time, there's skills that we can develop. And I think this is the thing, is faith-based women, like women entrepreneurs, I find that there's this sometimes a downplaying of the need for skills. And I remember I heard years ago this whole analogy between talent and skills. And I don't know, you're in the athletic, you're in the fitness, the health world, you may have heard this, but often we can have this excuse, well, I'm not that talented. I'm not as talented as that person, so I cannot speak that way or whatever. And so they kind of disqualify themselves. Have you ever felt that, disqualified because I don't know, I'm not as talented as this person. But there's studies have been done over time where they take people who are, say, for example, naturally talented in a sport or athletically, and they take somebody who's not as naturally talented, but they add skills. They coach them and develop skills. And guess what happens?
They pass, they'll pass people with the talent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
His talent alone will not get you as far as if you add skills. So this is what women need to understand is, even if you're naturally talented, you're not going to go as far if you just ride on your talent alone. You need to add skills. And I think that's our part, right? Our responsibility to take what God has given us, like the parable of the talent, the talents.
Yes.
You take what God has given you, and it's our job to invest in developing our capacity, to expanding our capacity so it multiplies and has a greater impact, in the parable of the talents. You could say it's money investing in, or you're investing in growing what God has given you so that it can have a greater impact. You have more now to work with. And so that's what I see is a lot of times women have this mindset that if they don't have it, they don't have it. And there's no way to change that. So it's kind of a fixed mindset as opposed to a growth mindset.
Gotcha. That's wonderful. Yeah, no, that's wonderful. That's interesting that you've seen that as especially in the Christian community, that you've seen that as a holdback. Interesting. But it's so important though, because I've been around speaking for quite a while, and I've seen really good trainers, and there's so many strategies and ways, there's so many, like you said, layers. There's so many ways to train yourself and develop yourself as a speaker.
Yeah.
It like never ends. Like it's an ongoing process, and you just learn something new, step up, learn something new, and you try things out. Yeah, but if people can't even get to that point of understanding that, hey, it's just, you need the skills. It takes some effort, some practice. Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. What else? Anything else hold people back from speaking and stepping into their shine into their greatness with their speaking abilities?
Well, the other biggest thing I think is permission. A lot of women they're waiting for permission. I don't know if this is
permission. Yeah.
I don't know if this has ever happened to you. You feel like, I really like to do that, but you're kind of waiting for someone to ask you, to invite you to do it. Well, guess what? Like, it's never been easier for women. I'm speaking to women. So speaking to women entrepreneurs, it's never been easier for you to step onto a stage and deliver your message, because you can create your own stage. And the internet now, with, the positive thing that's come out of the last few years is that the whole world has now been introduced to an online platform like we're on right now, that you can have a huge audience that's going to hear your message. No matter how much more of an impact can you have, you don't need permission. God is already, if you're called, and I would say, because you have a voice, that you're called in some way to speak. Because listen, Angie, do you need to use your voice to speak to yourself?
To speak to myself? I don't need a voice, but
no, you don't. You don't.
Yeah.
So therefore, your voice is meant to be heard by other people. You can talk to yourself without using your voice. Yep. But when you use your voice, I mean, it's good to also talk to yourself by using your voice, because that creates, that creates a different effect on us.
Right.
through
Another
faith.
Conversation.
Well, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word, so it's as we hear, we get empowered as well. So, but my point is this: often women don't realize that you are called in some way. I remember, for example, I was talking to a woman entrepreneur that I know, and she feels a tug, but at the same time, she doesn't see herself as a speaker because she's not getting paid to speak. She's not on a platform. She's not being invited to speak at conferences, but yet she is speaking all the time to her clients, promoting her business. She is creating courses. She's marketing on social media. So she is speaking all the time. So she's a speaker.
Good point.
It's like, what do you call a runner? I mean, sorry, what do you call someone who runs? I just gave it away.
A runner. Yeah.
A runner, right? You may not be the best runner. You may not be even a finessed runner. You could be an awkward, but you're still a runner.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
So women kind of hold themselves back because, and you might be listening today and understand what I'm saying, that you might see yourself in this category that, but I'm not as qualified or trained as this person, or only certain, celebrities or people who've gone through these extreme tragedy to triumph kind of stories are speakers. And I just want to say that you already have permission, because you're called to be a voice of influence. And if you're willing to step into the space that is even within your own sphere of influence, to begin to create your own stage, there are people waiting to hear what you have to say. And so I find that permission really holds women back, feeling like they have to have someone else invite them. I started creating my own stage before COVID online.
Nice. And then that's awesome. And it's so true, especially in today's world. And if no one's heard that concept before, it's so true, just the way you laid it out. Create your own stage. We can do that now. And most people are doing it. And even if you're a mom at home and you've got kids, that's your stage there. You're speaking to them. And yeah, there's so many ways we use our voice to communicate and influence and transform and encourage. There's so many ways. That's so awesome.
Yeah. And the biggest thing that happens is as you step into that, and that's one of the things that I help clients do as well, is how to create your own stage. Because you bump up against this mentality, but I don't want, draw attention to myself. And I'm like, well, hey, if you don't draw attention to yourself in some way, who's going to be impacted by your message? Like going back to the Bible as our reference, who are the greatest speakers that we can think of in history that changed the world? We think of people like Jesus, Martin Luther King, who are some people?
Yeah. King Solomon in the Bible, like there's all sorts of people in the Bible.
All kinds of people.
Yeah.
And we say, well, Jesus drew crowds. He drew attention.
He was a professional speaker.
Why did they come around him? To hear him speak.
Yeah.
And so the same thing is, we need to understand that influence is a powerful way to help the people in our life overcome problems, to move forward into who they're called to be. And if we have something that God has taught us, if I have something that God has helped me overcome in my life, a struggle, it's actually my responsibility to pass that on. It's not just for me. It's actually a gift that's been given to me to help others who may still be stuck in that. That's the power of testimony, right? The testimony of our life, the strands of areas of our life that have become what I like to call what part of your story was there a struggle that you overcame, and now you have a solution to help others. The story, struggle, solution framework is one of the things that I teach. And we have to see this as, this is actually part of my unique offering to the world, is what has shaped who I am. There's a scripture in Psalm 68 in the Passion Translation. It says, Lord, your miracles have made has made me who I am. Do it again. And it's all about the working of God in our life, or how we have come to be who we are today. The things that we've learned are meant for us to pass on as do it again means testimony. It's part of that testimony. Do it again in other people. Do it again, God. And as we do that, as we share that, we open up the opportunity for others to have a same experience, same transformational experience.
So
have you ever heard a speaker where they shared a story that really impacted you and helped shift something in you, Angie?
Stories are so powerful. Absolutely. And it's usually the stories that make the difference. And even like thinking back in school, when you're sitting, you're going through the textbooks, and I remember learning chemistry, because teachers are speakers.
Yes, teachers are speakers.
And I remember learning chemistry in high school, and I don't know, it must have just been dry textbook stuff because I didn't get it. And plus I was 16 or whatever. Yeah. But then I went to college and had a whole different professor teach chemistry. And it was all stories and examples and like real world experience. I'm like, I get it now. I can relate to this story and learn chemistry. Yay.
Yes,
exactly. Stories are powerful. Yeah.
They are. Yeah. But that voice in our head, that voice that says, who do you think you are? Who's going to listen to you? You know, have you ever had that? You
Oh
know what I'm
yeah.
talking about?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that kind of pulls us back. I know you teach on this whole concept of being pulled back, but
Yeah.
that tries to pull you back to this place of no, you don't have permission, you're not qualified, whatever it is. And that's where it's it feeds into that whole understanding or mindset of who am I, what have I got to offer, I'm not qualified, and say no, you're qualified if you're willing, if you know you're called, if you know you have a message, if you feel that tug,
Mm.
then that's an indication that you're called. But now maybe you just need to learn how to get it out, how to express it. And that's the beautiful thing about developing skills and learning from someone who has been through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you want to do anything great in life, the fastest way to get there is, to get around people that have done it. You can, figure it out on your own. People have done that, but if someone's done something you want to do, I don't care what it is.
Exactly.
That includes speaking, because not everybody may even realize you can go out and learn how to speak better. Like, what is it? Is it worth taking that time? And what are we doing in these, when we're training? But there's so many levels to train for skills for
There
speaking.
is. Yeah. Yeah. One last thing I just want to say here in regards to that is that I find that many women who do feel called in some way, or women entrepreneurs, they know speaking at some level, they know speaking is the fastest path to expand their influence, their income, their impact. They just know it because they see it, but yet they struggle with how to make that work.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I see is that they just want to get more speaking gigs, which is good, because they have this concept of, and I don't know if you've ever felt this way, if you've ever heard this. Well, I'm sure you've heard this, that practice makes perfect.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
One of my coaches told me one time, and he was talking about this. He said, well, actually, no, practice does not make perfect if you are practicing the wrong habits.
Exactly.
Right?
Perfect practice. Perfect practice is what you need. Yeah.
So a lot of times women, I know this happened for me when I first started as a speaker. I was listening to other speakers and watching them, and I started doing some of the things that they did, but they were actually bad habits. For example, one thing that I started at the beginning, someone say, oh yeah, you should start off by always starting off by telling a joke.
Oh gosh.
Well, that's fine. Well, one is if you're not funny, but
right.
it can fall flat in the face, because what happens is that you're trying to insert something that actually could take people off on another train. That's a distraction. Now you got to get them back. If it has nothing to do with your message, for example, or if it just falls flat, or if it's whatever, offensive, like you're just setting yourself up for a failure here. And so one of my coaches told me one time, he said, don't insert humor, uncover humor throughout your message. So sometimes things happen where you can just uncover it and it's just naturally a part of your message. So kind of reeling myself in here for a minute.
Well, comedy is that's a whole nother segment of speaking. It's one of the most difficult types of speaking you could do is humor, comedy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what I found was, for me, it was for people I was looking at, is actually not a good habit if it has nothing to do with what you're going to say. And if it was just for because the whole concept was you need to warm up your audience. And so that was part of that mindset. And I realized, okay, but what I realized afterwards, no, you need to capture their attention right away to bring them into the journey that you want to take them on in your message, to bring that transformation. So what you say in that first 7 to 30 seconds is critical to keep them engaged into what you're about to introduce them into and to bring them into. And so having someone or some way to help you to see what are the habits I need to replace in order to be that much more effective is really important. And I remember my coach, Craig Valentine, said one time, he said, don't just get ready, stay ready. So when women say, I just want to have more speaking gigs, what they're saying is they want to have more speaking gigs. One is to get themselves out there practice, but two is so that they can get ready for an opportunity. But he's saying, don't wait for the opportunity. Get ready now. And the opportunity, when the opportunity presents, you will be ready. Les Brown said the same thing in a different way. He said, it's better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared.
Very true.
And so for me, that became one of the frameworks of operating in that space, to be able to say, okay, I'm going to prepare myself. If I feel called, if I know I'm called, I'm going to do what I can to become the very best speaker I can to be prepared for the opportunities to come. And when the opportunities came, I was able to step in them. And this very key, Angie, was actually the key that transformed my approach to speaking and my business. When I prepared myself, the opportunities came.
That's awesome.
Because I'm prepared, the opportunities opened up. And actually my business and my speaking opportunities 10x'd in that first year after I learned how to adapt my message on the fly. And as I prepared myself, the opportunities came. So I want to encourage your listeners that you don't need permission. You have permission. You don't need permission for someone to invite you. You can step into your own stage and get prepared and allow God to use you to deliver that message to impact the people that need to hear what you have to say.
I love that. Oh, it's so awesome. Thank you, Lisa. That's so awesome. Yay.
You're welcome.
Thank you. This is wonderful. How can people get more of you, Lisa? Like what's the next step? If someone's listening to this right now and they're just feeling called, like, oh, it's my time. Like, I'm listening to this for a reason. I need to reach out to Lisa and I need to get the skills. What could they do next?
Perfect. Well, I do a masterclass on a regular basis called Speak and Prosper, because it comes from the scripture. It talks about that you may prosper in all things in that 3 John 2. And I believe that for women, that to be able to come to a place where you're prospering, what does that mean? That there's impact, that there's influence, that you're in a place where you know that you are making an impact. And you learn how to leverage those opportunities that you do have in order to grow your business, expand your influence. So I do a masterclass called Speak and Prosper .live. So if you go to speakandprosper.live/Angie, make sure you do that. Then you will be able to register for my monthly masterclass, or that's ongoing. And if it's already passed, you can get on the waiting list. So that's a great place to get an introduction and get more of me.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Lisa. That's fantastic. Awesome.
You're welcome. Thank you for this opportunity, Angie.
Yeah, no, this is thrilling because like you said, there's so many women called to speak, and we all need, it's always good to up level our skills, no matter what stage in the game we're at. I learn from speakers all the time, and I'm always learning. I love learning. Yes. And then it's the applying and the practice perfect and the whole thing. Like there's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. So I'm excited for your masterclass and to get a condensed version of a little bit of all of it. Yes, is that what it meant to the masterclass? Awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It'll help women to see how they can leverage speaking to grow their business and expand their influence.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Lisa. This was fantastic. I appreciate your time. And listeners, I know I was blessed. This was wonderful. Thank you, Lisa, so much. So vibrant creators out there, make sure you go to that link. What was that link again? It was
speakandprosper.live/Angie, ANGIE.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And we'll put wherever you're watching this from, we'll put the link in the comments or chat or the bio or wherever this is at. And just keep being awesome, everybody. What are you planting today? Like especially from this conversation, what can you take away and put into action? right now so that you can create the life that you desire.
Mm.
Keep being awesome, everybody. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Have a wonderful day.